Once you get the responsibility and you're doing a kick-ass job, you will be rewarded with the title and you will be rewarded with the money. But if you're one of those individuals who has to make somebody make a decision as to whether or not to give you a job or to give you a title or to give you more money in advance of having proven that you can do it, you're raising the bar way too high. You got to start by saying to somebody, oh, by the way, I've been doing this job for 6 months now. You can't live without me. The fact that you can't live without me, now can we talk about title and comp? Don't start by demanding things in advance. But I was wrapping these clever solutions. Then ultimately, I would look at Pat and I would say to Pat, what do you think is the most important thing to any CEO of a major corporation? It's not their wives. It's not their family. Maybe it's their family. Maybe it's their wives. But most of the time, it's their companies. These people are lopsided, all right? And that's their personal choice. And by the way, God bless them. If they're comfortable in the balance that they have in their lives, that's awesome. Good for them. I have no judgment at all. But I got to tell you, your willingness to look at them and say, I want Deloitte to be more successful. I want to devote my energies, my weekends. I want to do my extra work. Part of my currency to Pat was to say, I want Deloitte to be successful. And I would do things like I would work on little weekend projects and ideas that I would have, and I would present them to Pat. And he'd be like, wow, that's a good idea, or that sucks, whatever. But he saw the energy and the passion and the constant vigilance to make his company successful, to make him successful. One of the currencies that you have is time. Being able to go to your mentor and say, hey, listen, by the way, what are you passionate about? Is there a nonprofit that you love? Is there some project at work that you haven't had time to get to? Can I do a little work on the side? I'd like to work my nights and weekends for 2 weeks, give them to you. You give me a little consulting project, and I'd love to do that for you. Who's not going to say yes? There's not a single person in this room, myself included, that if you came to me and said, Keith, I really want to get to know you better. Here's 3 things that I want to do for you. One, you give me a paper project, and I want to write a 5-page paper on some subject that is interesting to you. I'm going to do the research and all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? There's so much currency that you have, and your passion is a currency, and your admiration, and your loyalty, and you're willing to look at that mentor and say, I admire you. I want to be like you someday. There are 3 things that fundamentally motivate people: getting rich, getting laid, and changing the world, okay? Those are the 3 things that fundamentally motivate everybody, all right? And you might say getting love, but it boils down to one thing. One of those 3 things motivate everybody. Now, if you can fulfill one of those things for somebody, you're golden, okay? I'm not going to suggest using any of them inappropriately, but my point is I use all 3 of those in my work environment. I'm constantly looking at my clients, and I'm saying to them, listen, if I'm their career counselor. As much as I'm the chief marketing officer's consultant to help them think about their brand strategy or help them think about how to develop intimacy with their prospects and clients better, I'm also their career consultant. They think of me as their lifeline to having more successful careers and therefore money. I've got clients who are single, and I'm constantly trying to think about who can I introduce them to. I got to be honest, when one of those things is lopsided in a person's life, it's a shame. And people long for intimacy and love and connection. And I try as best as I can to think about making the client personally successful. Your job is to make your boss personally successful. Changing the world is an aspiration that we all have. You, by looking at your boss and saying, I admire you. You are somebody I look up to. I want to be like you. They have just felt like they changed the world one person at a time. It's a big motivation for all of us. Don't choke back those kind of things. Let people know. And this goes on to more detail about how one can do that. But let me give you a 7-stage process that we've taught financial advisors and partners of major financial services firms, CFOs, etc. Number 1 is focus. Write down and get clarity in your life about what you want to achieve. And I'm going to give you, I want you to write these 7 things down. They're not in the right order, but you put your own order of priority or importance. The most important thing for me, ultimately, is personal life, friends and family. What are your aspirations? What you should do is you should ask yourself, when you're 50 or even 10 years from now? What does your life look like in each of these areas? And write down a statement that is a present tense statement. Personally, in 10 years, not even in 10 years, but if I'm thinking about a 10-year time frame, I, Keith Ferrazzi, have a partner that I'm in love with. We have children. That my friends know that my house is a place of excitement and comfort that they can just pop in at. I mean, that's the kind of statement that I would write around my personal life. My professional life, my brand is an internationally acclaimed brand, and it's akin to bringing greater joy and success in people's life in the workplace. And that's what I'm recognized on an international basis for. Financially, I'm worth X. What's the number? What is your number or aspiration? I am of service to the community in a way that I fundamentally want to make sure that before I pass out of this world, nobody has a glass ceiling in the workplace. Now, that's a big aspiration, and I believe very strongly in human rights, yours, mine, people that aren't even in this room, and I want to make sure that the workplace is a meritocracy and where people have more joy in that workplace and have that capability. I want to make sure that I live a healthy, long life. I watch my blood pressure, I watch my whatever. Spiritual. I want to feel grounded and feel that every year I become more secure and confident in who I am. Using religion, using meditation, and all the tools that are available to me to do so. And intellectually, I want to continue to learn and grow. I want to read the great books again. I want to visit the 20 places that I have written down that I've never visited yet. And I ultimately want to do that with the people I love. So how do you see yourself? And what's your vision for yourself? Once you do that, show people. You need to take these things and show your mentors what you want to achieve, because then they can begin to help you. The strategy point, focus. By the time you get around to aligning is telling everybody what you want to achieve. If you tell your mentors what you're trying to achieve, they can help you do it. If you don't tell them, they're not going to be able to help you. And there's so many people in this room that would like to help you succeed. And if you don't let them know what success is for you, what your joy, what your passion, what your dreams are, they can't help you. By the way, I always look out 10 years, and then I do a separate statement, a separate set of goals. It says, if I'm going to achieve that in 10 years, what do I have to achieve in 3? If I achieve it in 3, what do I have to achieve this year by the end of this year? And if I achieve it this year, what do I have to do in the next 60 days to start making sure that I achieve what I want to achieve this year? Basically, what I'm telling you to do is your own strategic plan. I want each of you to do your own strategic plan. And do not be afraid of not knowing what the answers are. Write them down anyway. Take a stab, take a guess. Be the president, be the chairman of Goldman Sachs, be whatever. Be whatever it is you think you might want to be today, and change it later. But put a stake in the ground and don't meander around, for 5 years trying to figure it out. Change it as you need to. And go back over this plan. In the middle is renew. You go back over this plan every 3 to 6 months. Diagnose. This is what I told you earlier when I said, go get Mark Goulston's book. Figure out what you're doing that gets in your way of success and begin to tell others, tell others what it is. I had lunch with a young man yesterday who, in the process of talking to him, it was confidence. This is a guy who's very sharp. He's the son of a good friend of mine, but he's very sharp, and he just lacks a level of confidence. He always sort of hedges. He's a little humble, and it's to the point where he doesn't believe his own capabilities. And so he diagnosed that in front of me, and he said, you know what? I'm just not as confident as I need to be. I said, great. Now we can solve it. You diagnosed it. Hi, I'm Joe, I'm an alcoholic. Then you can solve that, Hi, I'm conflict avoidant. It's very difficult for me to say to somebody, you disappoint me. It's very difficult to say to somebody, I don't love you anymore. I mean, these are things that a lot of us have as our issues that we need to extricate ourselves if we're going to live healthy lives.